Okay, so you've hired your first virtual assistant and they're on the other side of the world. How are you going to manage what they're doing and how they're doing it when you have no ability to sit down with them in person and show them how you expect things to be done? In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how we built our system completely online so that our virtual assistants always know how to do what they need to do and when they should be doing it. What's up, fam? I'm your host, CMH, founder of StartupU. StartupU is an interactive learning space for online business owners. To learn more about StartupU, make sure you check the link below. Before we get started, make sure you guys like this video, hit subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and drop me a comment below. Okay, so in the last video in this productivity series, we talked about hiring your first virtual assistant. And I talked about the Philippines and how our entire team is in the Philippines. Outside of my business partner and I, everybody else is overseas. So if you missed that video, definitely go make sure you check that out when you're done here, because I think you're going to learn a lot about how to effectively and successfully hire a virtual assistant when many people, they try it and they just get it wrong. But part two of that, and this is probably even more important, if not just as important, is what are you going to do after that? You can't just say do social media, all right? You have to have something in place. It's no different than having training and things you would have for employees here based in the States or wherever it is that you live. Regardless, wherever you are domestically, having people in your centralized location. The world is going digital, the world's going virtual. It's important that you master these skills and create a system so that your team can thrive and you're doing everything you can to give them the possibility to be successful. So I'm going to show you, I've got my screen pulled up here. I'm going to show you a variety of different things that we do. And I'm also going to give you, I created an example board for you that if you want, you can actually just start building off of what I've already created for you. So grab that link below. I'm going to include that so that you can just download it or just have access to a public link. Just make sure you make it your own once you do that. But I'm giving you public access to my Trello example board that I created for you. So make sure you check that link below to get that link. Okay, so let's check this out. The first one, and this is one of our examples, this is my business partner. This is hers because hers is way more developed than mine. She's very thorough. So I want to make sure that I showed you this one. It gives you basically everything. Everything in the business is going to show you a variety of topics: email marketing, Pinterest, YouTube, other tools, scheduling, posts, etc. And each one of these, what you'll see is it's going to have a video, right? So we'll do, with Screencast-O-Matic, we'll create videos showing people how to do what it is that we actually do. What I recommend you do, and this maybe feels overwhelming, I showed you hers, I should probably show you mine because it's a little bit more condensed than hers. However, one of the things that I would keep in mind is this is built over time, all right? So when you're doing things in your business, when you're going through the process of developing an Instagram post, for example, record yourself doing it. Record yourself going through the process, explain why you're doing what you're doing. Just get your thoughts out on digital paper as much as you possibly can. And that way, you do it once, you never have to do it again. So I would slowly start to just do things. You don't have to do every single thing you do throughout your day, but when you're going through major tasks, editing your podcast, scheduling your content, writing your blog, just explain why you're doing what you're doing and walk through the strategic process as to how you can do that. Something else I've seen, and actually some of the cards that we have here, we've actually put in a checklist too, as well as other links for resources. So if there's a specific resource that they need, like an image for a thumbnail for YouTube, you're going to include a link to your Google Drive maybe that has various images and examples that they can use to borrow for that thumbnail, right? So you want to make sure that you use the description area here on Trello to include any other details that they may need to reference that you've talked about in that specific video. So when they're reviewing and they're looking through your library here of different resources, when they watch the video, they don't have to go anywhere else. It's all right there. It's centralized. They can just access it as quickly as possible. Now, the beautiful thing is this. They can add a comment down here. So if they still have a question, they can see that. And then new hires that come on, if they're going through this, they can actually look through the lineage of conversations because it's going to turn into an FAQ, right? It's going to be like, oh, okay, I see that this was a challenge that so-and-so had, and this is how it was addressed, and this was the answer that Kim had or Chris had or whomever. And now I have an answer to that. So you're really building on your efforts here. So don't get overwhelmed with thinking, oh my gosh, I have to have all this just to make my first hire. You do not. You just want to slowly start adding to your library of different resources. Your business, you should build your business to where at some point it could run without you. That doesn't mean that you're not valuable, doesn't mean you're not necessary in the business. You just want to make sure that if something, God forbid, happened to you, the business could keep going, or people could step in and fill the role while you were gone, while you're on vacation, while you're in the hospital, God forbid, if something happened, that the team is able to step in because you've created a system of resources for people to be able to utilize. Now, let me show you how this looks in the real world in terms of workflow. So that's your training library. That's where you're going to include a lot of the different resources in terms of, here's how you do these things. Here's how you create these assets. Here's how you repurpose. Here's how you schedule content. Whatever it comes down to, whatever the nuance involves, that's where you're going to include that. However, what I would do is also have workflow boards as well, right? So if there's a back and forth, so for me, it's podcast, right? For podcast and YouTube, I'm back and forth with my content team. So typically what we do, and this is going to be really overwhelming. I mentioned I don't have big boards, and then I'm going to show you this, and it's crazy. But don't forget to like and subscribe while you guys are at it. So I typically put in ideas, right? So these are all video ideas that I've had of different things we could talk about. And what we do is we use certain things like labels. If it's a green label, I know this is a high ranking video using vidIQ. You don't need to know what vidIQ is, just know that it means that it's a big opportunity for me to take advantage of. So as I'm developing my content schedule for the upcoming, usually I try to schedule about 6 months in advance. It's the thing I've been doing lately. I'll look for videos that align with that topic that also have been researched. So when I put them on the content board here as ideas, I will tag one of our analysts, and she will go through the process of researching that, and then she'll provide all kind of suggestions and things that we could talk about, and the vidIQ scores and so on and so forth, that we know that is something that we should consider, that it's a video that is ready to rock and roll. You should absolutely jump on. It's a huge opportunity. Now, guest opportunities, this is for me to go on other people's shows. You'll notice that back and forth, we're constantly leaving notes for each other, when emails were sent, who the contact person was, so on and so forth. So we're able to communicate back and forth with the team in real time. What you'll notice is that what I do is, as I see things are confirmed, okay, great. Then I can grab this person and I can say, this is a confirmed guest. I'm going to move it to this board over here, right? So this is how we handle that process. Everything is very streamlined. Everything makes sense in terms of natural flow from left to right. So what we do here is, as you see, there's podcast and YouTube kind of mixed together here. What you'll see is we'll have confirmed guests here and then videos in queue, right? So there's two different aspects that we have to concern ourselves with, which doesn't matter for you. Just know that there's a general idea of flowing left to right. What I do is the videos that have been researched, the videos that we're going to absolutely record, these are videos in queue, right? So they're not ideas anymore. They're now in queue. What you'll see is that you'll go through, and as I notice, I'm putting dates on all these. So I've got content scheduled right now until June the 13th, right? So pretty far out. At the time I'm recording this, it's February. So all the way till June, I'm pretty much at least I know what we're going to do. That gives the team the ability to really do some research, come up with thumbnail ideas, to look at other videos for inspiration, things of that nature. We're constantly back and forth, having dialogue and conversation throughout that process, right? So that you know when it's time to record that video, you know what they're thinking, they know what you're thinking, and you guys are on the same page. So you're not just creating content on the fly. Like, that's the most important thing. And this applies to anything, not just YouTube or podcasting, right? So then when it's time for editing, I drop it in the editing box. You can see all of the various links that I've included. This was actually the one from my last video. And then when I'm ready, I will actually drop the drive link here. Boom, I'll add the link here, and then I'll hit save. And then I'll tag the editor, and I'll say, hey, AJ, this video is ready for review. I'm not going to tell him because it's not ready. But I'll include all the links that I mentioned, the inspiration for the video, what we're kind of going for with that specific video, a potential topic name, and things of that nature. So he'll know and have all those resources to refer back to, in addition to other people on the team that have partook in that specific video, helping out with the research. He'll have access to their notes as well. As soon as that video is edited, then we drop it over to ready for the blog. That person is now tagged in the blog process, which is yet another person that actually writes the blogs and schedules things for social media, creates pins, creates Instagram clips, creates snippets from the video if that's necessary. If there's something that I said in there that was really, really powerful that we want to repurpose, great, it's ready for that. And then finally it would go to published and posted. So you can see this is a very elaborate process. There's another thing that we included on this specific board, which is just notes and resources. So there's various things here that we talk about, things where they can access those resources as it relates to this specific process. Again, that's kind of an optional bonus, so they don't have to go to another board. It's just quick resources, much the same that we talked about with that specific training board. So you want to create something like this. It doesn't have to be exactly mine. This is just our process. And I'm constantly tweaking this, by the way. Like, it's never perfect. I'm always like, this is better organized. We're condensing things. We're adding new things and stuff like that. But you want a general flow of something. And that's why I love tools like Trello and Slack. Typically, all of our project-related things are on Trello. If we need to nudge somebody, it's on Slack. I don't like to save project information on Slack because it gets lost in the shuffle. It's not there forever like it is with Trello. So I definitely recommend making sure your tool stack is something you consider, right? This is in your training board. This is how we use Trello. This is how we use Slack. All right, so what I've created for you guys, I think is going to benefit you a lot, is let's go to the example training board. So I've already given you some general topics to include these general lists, right? So email marketing, YouTube, podcast, blog, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, tools, right? And then you can add whatever you want to do. Once this is yours, you can just make it your own, and you can add other things to the list. Now, I gave you some ideas of different things that I would maybe consider, so I added this for you. This is very condensed. It's not the extent that it would be probably in your case. But here's the photo library, right? So you have access to that for the specific thumbnail. And then here's a video tutorial, right? So I'll create an actual tutorial video showing how I create thumbnails, as well as maybe a link to Canva, right? To show like, hey, here's the Canva link that we use specifically for the folder where we have other thumbnails, because they may refer back to other ideas of things that have already been created that they want to draw inspiration from. So that's a really good thing to do. They may also see, hey, we just used this image. I don't want to use this image again, right? What I do typically is I take a thumbnail picture for every single one, so I'll include that in the Drive folder with the other files, so it's not an issue. But you may find that you have a library over time that you've created various thumbnails so that you don't have to take a new photo every single week or whenever it is you create content. You just have a bank that you use for B-roll photos, things of that nature, where they can just pull from at any and all times. So that might be something really beneficial for you to do. And then I mentioned before the various steps in the process, right? So they're going to look through and say, find an appropriate picture, edit images on Lightroom, because we don't want to put up unedited images, upload to Canva, right? And you would, et cetera, right? And then, as I mentioned below, or in the previous card, you would actually, if there was any questions here, now you've got a thread of FAQs, right? Boom, it's right there for you. No problem. Dunzo, right? So again, this is a simple version, so I don't want to overwhelm you. This is a simple version that you can build on, but I'd recommend you get this established first. Whatever job you're looking to hire for, let's say it's social media, that's your focus. So you're going to spend a week before you hire that person going through and creating training videos for that specific role. The last thing you want to do is indoctrinate somebody. They don't know what it's a bad image. You're not setting the right precedent of you know what you're talking about, and then you're paying them, and unfortunately the work that they're doing is not in line with what you're expecting, and so you get frustrated, fire the VA, say, oh, they didn't get what I wanted. The problem is that you didn't provide a lot of resources for them to work with, right? So again, I would really go through and make sure that you are putting them in the best position to succeed, providing other content ideas, creating content buckets. All of these various things should be included in this training board, in addition to the templates that you've already used, so that they understand your branding. They understand the way that you want things done. They understand the way you structure blogs. They understand how frequently you schedule content, what platforms are more important, what's the priority. All of these things should be included inside of your various training resources. You can talk about it in the video, but make sure that you use it. You can use labels, you can use whatever it is you want to use, but make sure you have something like this in place. Make it your own. Make sure that it's just consolidated, and make sure that that is the number one thing that they understand when you hire a new person. They understand to refer to this. Constantly refer them to this rather than just playing it by ear, winging it, and just answering their questions back and forth all the time, because it's just not fruitful. It creates a lot of confusion. It creates a lot of frustration on both sides. And then ultimately what we have come to find is when we don't do this, if we don't indoctrinate them the right way, they end up leaving, or we end up having to move on because it's just not working out. So I hope this video helps you guys. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe to this channel. Check the description below, because I am including this. You can grab your example training board that I already provided for you, so you can start building on that and getting started. Make sure you refer back to the previous video on hiring your first VA, or just hiring your VA in general. If you want to know how we do that process, watch that video again so you get some tidbits on that. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.